I moved to France for the very first time in 2003, so quite a long time ago. Hopefully that doesn't reveal too much about my age, but I moved here to do my undergrad. So I was actually at the Sorbonne in Paris for my first year, and then after that moved on to Sciences Po in Bordeaux. So I studied political science with a specialization in government administration, actually. So I was really lucky because when I applied to come to France for a visa, I was originally going to be denied because that was the year that the EU just pushed in a regulation saying that people, like Filipinos anyway, people that were like high-risk migratory countries, couldn't go to France unless they had a specific kind of enrollment. And I was just really lucky because I cried at the embassy in the French embassy in the Philippines, and the culture attaché made an exception, and he wrote me a letter of recommendation, and so it passed, and I was able to get my visa and come in 2003. Well, it was more of like I mean, I love France now, but at the time when you're in the Philippines, you don't know so much about France, and it was really like mostly practical considerations. In France, I could come here. Tuition was under 1,000 euros. I could work up to 20 hours a week, so I was working part-time to pay my studies here. I was also able to get subsidies from the government to help me pay for my rent, social security, so it was possible, as opposed to, let's say, you're in the Philippines and you have no money and you want to go to the US. It's just not financially an option. So it's a really new company, which makes it really exciting. So I co-founded 5x5 with Chloe, who's over there, just last year. So 5x5 is an innovation agency, and we specialize in open data. So what an innovation agency means is mostly that we help companies that are trying new things, that want to go in new directions and sort of transform the way that they do things and sort of step it up and use data a little bit more efficiently. And we help them go through that process and sort of prototype very rapidly so that they can see what makes sense for them and what direction to go.
How long has it been in business?
It's so young. So we're 1 year old as of September 24, and we're still growing. So we like to say that at 5x5 we speak several languages. We speak tech, we speak design, we speak UX, like user experience, we speak marketing, we speak communication. So I usually have a lot of people on the team are either really good at one thing or they're a good mix of all of that. It's doing really great. It's kind of exciting, you know, when you launch a young company. So now we're working for such varied things. We're working from everything to making the parking meters in New York more interconnected, to helping the World Bank help the government of Burkina Faso with its open data strategy. So business is doing very, very, very well. We're excited about it. So I got a phone call, I think it was sometime in April, from the director of the open data task force of the French government. So I serve them as a member of their expert committee. So I got a call and he said, listen, the president of France wants to meet like the top 3 figures or top 3 entrepreneurs that are working in open data today, and I really want you to come and be one of them. So it was really intimidating. I think when you're an immigrant, it's something that you always dream about, right? That you don't think you're going to do, like meeting the president. So we went to the Élysée, which is the presidential palace, kind of like France's Malacanang. And we had a long lunch with, so the president was there, but also several other ministers that were interested in the issue. I actually talked about the Philippines while I was there. He was really interested because that was a few months after Yolanda. And he was obviously really interested in seeing, well, how does a country sort of pull together that way? As someone who's part of the diaspora, even though, you know, you're not French and you're not French, but you don't live in the Philippines, what role do you sort of play in all of that? And so those were some of the things we talked about. It's a really good story. There were a few developers that contacted me. They were watching TV, like many people, and they saw, you know, Yolanda hit, and the images are really terrifying. And so they wrote to me and they're like, Kat, is there anything that we can do to help? We'd really like to do something. If we have to code all weekend, we have to code all week, well, it's fine. So I contacted someone I knew from Malacanang, actually, from the open data team. And she said, well, actually, we have a list of very pressing issues that we need tech support for. So she gave me the list, and I looked at it and I'm like, I think we're gonna need more than just 20 people to help us with this. So I started recruiting for them. At first it started very small. It started on Facebook and Twitter, and up to then we'd gotten about 200 or 300 people from all over the world that wanted to help. And then after that we got coverage from like Wired, from TechCrunch, from Le Monde, like all the main French newspapers covered it, Slate, in the US and here and in the UK as well. So we wound up with over like 1,000 people from all over the world willing to help the Philippines by coding something that could help them on the ground. You should actually ask the people at the Open Data team. So there were some really interesting rescue dispatch applications that were being developed as well that were open sourced so that just anybody could use them. Those were there were also things to track, for example, tweets more effectively, because the problem as it was presented to us was that with regards to rescue dispatch anyway, a lot of it is manual and based on email and Excel spreadsheets. So some of the teams were trying to build a way to make that a little bit more fluid and give the president a tool that they could use. I don't know if that's a good word for it. So I met the vice consul not too long ago, and the funny thing is that we met not through a Filipino connection, but because her husband is specialized in data. And he reached out to me via LinkedIn and told me oh, it so happens that my wife is Filipino as well. So it just all happened very quickly. So I met her, I went to one of the Filipino community events, and then I met Andre, who's working for us now, who's also Filipino. And so that's sort of how it happened, very organically. I think that's really exciting. I don't remember, since I've lived here, I don't think a Filipino president has ever come to meet the French president. So I'm very positive about the kind of sign that's sending, not just for, of course, relationships between the French government and the Filipino government, but also what it means for the Filipino diaspora and the Filipino community that's been here for a long time. It's usually one of the more, less visible kind of foreign communities. Maybe my message for them is not don't be afraid, because I don't want to be like a fake hero. When I came here, I was really, really scared. I was crying on my first days. I couldn't speak any French at all. And so my message is more if you are afraid, that's fine and you can conquer it, and you have to know that it's really conquerable. I think that a lot of Filipinos, sometimes they put a barrier for themselves that they think they can't overcome, and so it hinders them from making that big first step. And my message to them is just make it, be brave about it, because the chances are that if you put your heart in the right place, it's really going to work out.